Okay, everyone, welcome to a special edition of Down the Line. We're continuing our trend from last year where we're going to start to pick where some of the biggest free agents are going to be landing. I'll call this our infielder video, our Prince infielder or our Cecil infielder video, whatever you want to call it. That's a little Prince and Cecil fielder pun for you. This episode is going to be focusing on the infielders, some of the prime names that we got available this off season. We'll probably also do a pitcher one and an outfield one. We were going to do one big video actually where we were just predicting everybody, but we kind of realized that there's more big names out there than we kind of anticipated, ranging from the Carlos Correas of this world to even the Cesar Hernandez's. We barely wanted to cover, but we'll throw in there just because they have above a 2 WAR. And honestly, if someone like the Yankees got them, I feel like, we're in every baseball fans podcast, obviously. So I feel like if any team got Cesar Hernandez, they'd be like, it's not a bad signing. So we included him. So we're going from all the biggest names like Carlos Correa to little guys like that. We're going to start with the shortstops though. Nick, a lot going on with them this offseason. A lot of shortstop rumors.
Yeah, a lot going on. I feel pretty good about the start of this video already. Anytime you can work both Prince and Cecil Fielder into the first 30 seconds of a video, you're about to crush it. But I mean, I don't know about you. I'm a mix between loving what's going on with the shortstop market and just being pissed off because I love rumors, season sources, trying to read into who's planting this. Is this real? Do you buy it from this guy? But at the same time, I feel like the offseason is still so young and we've had so many varieties and contradicting rumors already, then it's like, can you guys just figure it the fuck out a little bit for us? I think only because the Yankees are in the market for a shortstop am I that pissed off about it, but it's just figure it out a little bit, guys.
Yeah, no, I mean it's gonna get weirder. I mean, we started with the classic the player had coach with the lunch. Or the player had lunch with the coach. With Correa having lunch with Hinch, and it's gonna be, and then we're gonna start getting into this person followed this person. Or he unfollowed these people from his previous team. Oh, he looked at an apartment here. Obviously, we're gonna start getting into the very interesting. I feel like this is only the beginning. And so shortstops, especially, you're right. The Yankees are on it. The Dodgers are going to be in on a shortstop. Technically, they don't have one right now. Seager was there, but I don't think he's going to wind up there. So they're going to be in the market for a shortstop. The Tigers and the Rangers seem like they're willing to just throw out blank checks at some of these guys. The rumors are going to swirl and they're going to be for big amounts of money and it's going to be eye popping. But where they actually wind up is ultimately up to us. It's up to you and me. I think all these teams are looking at our opinions on this.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure last year we went 95% accuracy on our. Nobody fact checked that though. I think
we did do actually pretty decent last year.
We actually did pretty well.
For what it's worth.
Definitely not 95%, but we did okay.
Yeah. So let's actually get going into this. Let's start with who we think, I think pretty consensusly across the board is the best shortstop available, arguably the best free agent available, depending on what you think of maybe Max Scherzer as well. We'll get into him in another video. But let's start with Carlos Correa. Where do you think he ends up?
So as badly as I want him to be a Yankee, we've been talking about this. You see me on the soapbox, for him on Twitter for a couple of weeks now. I do think he's going to be a Tiger, and not necessarily because, like you said, all those kind of examples you were mentioning, we've already seen from him with smoke to the Tigers. Obviously, his history with AJ Hinch, we saw them out to lunch. Passon tweeted about that. And then I'm not sure if he actually added a Tiger to his Twitter bio or that was just a Photoshop that people were falling for. Then he followed Akil Baddoo and a couple other Tigers. So it has nothing really to do with any of that. I do buy into the Hinch tie a little bit. I think the Tigers are a team that's looking to make some noise. They don't have big contracts on the books. And I think that they look at Correa as a 27-year-old shortstop and say, all right, if we're going to start and build around somebody and throw $250, $300 million at someone, it might as well be him. So I think the fit just makes sense. He stays in the American League. Other than starting a family in Detroit, which I'm not sure why he would do, I do think that is where he'll end up when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. I think that they also seem like they're ready for, like I said, kind of with the Rangers too. But obviously, the Rangers are not going to get anybody because I do have them getting one person, but they're just going to throw a blank check at somebody, and it's not going to be the person that anybody wants. But I think the Tigers are the more significant team that's ready to write a blank check, and I think it's going to be for Correa. They're going to set the market, I think, by being the first team to sign a shortstop. And it's going to be for something like $340 million. And everyone else is going to know that, okay, we have to go below that mark because you're not as good as Carlos Correa. I mean, they were a 500, almost a 500 team. They were, I think, 77 and whatever the losses come out to. I think they finished with 77 wins though, which is, at the beginning of the season, a lot more than everyone expected the Tigers to have. So they wound up being a pretty good team. So with Carlos Correa, if you actually add on his 7 WAR, they make him a 500 team, and they make some other moves over the course of the next 4 or 5 years. They're a playoff team. And really what this situation reminds me of, and it's why I think he's going to go to Detroit, because I think he mirrors this action, is when Manny Machado went to the Padres. Do you know what I mean? When the Padres themselves weren't actually good yet, but kind of adding him in is like, oh, okay, the Padres are ready to make some moves. And then that kind of started bringing up these other prospects, bringing up Tatis, Cronenworth, guys like that. And it kind of made them into this championship team, or potentially they should have been a championship team on paper. They were last year, but you know what I mean? And I think the Tigers are kind of following that same trend, and Carlos Correa is going to be their Manny Machado, where he turns them from, oh, I think they're ready to make some noise, to 2 or 3 years later, like, no, these guys are serious and they're going to contend right now. And I think they start that with Carlos Correa by just throwing money at him the same way the Padres did with Machado.
Absolutely. And I think that you hit on it too. I don't think they're that far away from contending, maybe not World Series contenders, but I mean, that division sucks. Like the White Sox got exposed as the biggest frauds. They already have Spencer Torkelson coming up. They have a couple top pitching prospects. So yeah, it's not hard to see the Tigers being a legitimately competitive team within the next year or two.
I mean, they're projecting Casey Mize to be this Max Scherzer type. You know what I mean? Not exactly in what he has, but like where he could really be like a really good pitcher for a really long time.
And listen, you've alluded to this plenty of times. What better way to help out your young upcoming pitching staff than throw arguably the best defensive shortstop in all of baseball? Well, one of the best defensive shortstop in all of baseball, and Carlos Correa behind.
Exactly. I mean, it makes too much sense for them. And I don't think that, although as bad as we want him to be a Yankee, I just don't think they're going to throw as much as the Tigers are willing to throw to essentially restart their franchise with the prospects they have in a totally new face of the franchise. So that's unfortunately why I think he goes to the Tigers.
Yep, I agree.
So the next one, and this is who I think is going to be a Yankee, Corey Seager. I'll let you go into yours, but I think he's going to be a Yankee. So what are your thoughts on Corey Seager?
So I do think that if you look at it, it's like, yeah, it makes sense that he's going to be a Yankee, right? Lefty bat, 27 years old, shortstop's a glaring need. At the same time, I look at the Cole contract, I look at the Stanton contract. DJ still has 5 years left at a nothing AAV, and I do think that they're going to look to lock up Aaron Judge. I don't know if they go and hand out an 8 to 10 year deal. So as badly as I do want them to get Correa, and as much as I'd be satisfied with them pivoting to Seager, I don't see it happening. Scott Boris is his agent. I have him going to the Texas Rangers. I think it's a similar concept. I don't have as much hope for them to be good as I do the Tigers. I remember last year when we were doing our prospect videos, like our MLB redraft, who would you protect? We were just laughing at how little
nobody
have, even at any level whatsoever. But what they do have going for them is, I think they only have like one guaranteed contract on the books for 2022 as of right now, like literally just stupid flexibility. And Scott Boris is known for getting his guys paid. So I think what you said earlier, the one thing I disagree with was if Correa signs first for 340, everyone will get less. Scott Boris is going to try and get him 341 if that's the case. So I think that I just don't buy that Corey Seager is going to take any kind of discount or team-friendly deal to be a Yankee or a Dodger. I think he's going to go wherever the most money is. And as of right now, I think it might be the Texas Rangers.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a very fair take. The only reason why I think he's going to be a Yankee is I don't think he's going to get Correa money. I think there's going to be a significant drop off. I think any general manager can easily point to the fact that, yes, he's had very good statistical stats. He's not going to be a shortstop in 3 years. I mean, I think that's also one of the reasons why I think he's going to be a Yankee, because he does kind of make sense for one of these potential shortstops to come up in a few years and sort of play this stopgap position while still getting arguably one of the best hitting players in baseball. So it makes sense for the Yankees in terms of the now plan and the future plan. But in terms of like what he's going to get paid, I don't think he's going to get that Correa money because he's not as good defensively. I mean, maybe they're similar in speed. To be honest, I don't really know how fast Corey Seager is. I don't think anything significant.
Seager's pretty slow. Correa is not all that fast either. I'd say Correa is a little more athletic, but neither of them are real base stealers.
But you're not getting like Trevor Story difference where you're getting like someone who's like significant.
No.
You know what I mean? Like they're both
middle of the pack. And even Semien are much faster than the other two.
Exactly. So like I don't really think that Corey Seager demands that kind of money that he's going to get because he's not an asset for the most part defensively. He's an asset from the left side of the plate in the same way that I was going to say Joey Gallo, but not really. Like in the same way, like where like you're getting him for his offense. Actually, no, Joey Gallo's an awful comparison. I'll think of a different comparison another time. Joey Gallo is actually good.
Joey Gallo is you better for his defense. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You get the point. Regardless, I don't think he's going to get that Carlos Correa money. And that's why I think he falls to the Yankees, because I think that they are going to say, you know what, screw it, we got to go for it right now. Because I agree with you. I think they're ready to get out the checkbooks for this offseason, go in the 290 range.
I hope you're right. We'll see. I'll get into one of my next guys. I'll let you know the way I think that they end up going.
Interesting. Very interesting. So I think the next one we had listed here, I'm trying to go in order of best available, and we're starting at the shortstop position. So I'm trying to decide right now who I think is better. I'm gonna go with Trevor Story. Let's do Trevor Story next. Well, I'm deciding between Seaman and Story, but let's go with Trevor Story. Who is where's Trevor Story going?
So Trevor Story is actually the one that I have going to the Yankees, and here's why. So Brian Cashman did try to acquire him at the trade deadline. The Rockies held on to him for some godforsaken reason. So we know that Cashman is interested, and we've seen this before where Cashman will miss out on a guy and end up getting him later. Obviously, Garrett Cole, the most notable example, but it's not an uncommon theme where Cashman looks to trade for someone and then ends up signing them a year or two later. He's a righty bat, which people will bitch about, but he's got great opposite field power at Yankee Stadium. He's great defensively, which after the Gleyber Torres years, you definitely want a strong shortstop. The only concern is his elbow and his arm strength, which maybe is a concern. I'm not going to act like a doctor and I can diagnose that. It's fast on the bases, another thing the Yankees lack. And I think that coming off a down year, you can maybe end up falling into a situation where, you know, I'm not saying he takes a straight up 1 year deal, but say you're Trevor Story, you're 29. This is the last time you're getting a significant deal. Maybe he takes a 5 or 6 year deal, but Cashman's able to work in a couple opt outs, you know, say after year 2 and 4 or something like that, where it's Trevor Story saying, you know what, I kind of want to bet on myself. So I'll take this lower AAV. And if I kill it the next 2 years, I can opt out and get one more long deal. But at the same time, I'm secure for the next 6 years if my elbow really is fucked. So, I mean, I don't know that that's going to happen. I could just potentially see it happening where Correa gets paid, Seager gets paid, and then everyone else in the market is kind of like I would like a shortstop, but I don't need a shortstop. And then you could end up getting Story on somewhat of a bargain deal.
Right. The only reason why I didn't think Story was an option for the Yankees is and maybe this is just fog and a mirror and they did this on purpose and I fell for it entirely, was they said they didn't like Story. I thought they were kind of like out on him from the beginning. Like I saw reports, I think it was from like reputable people too, where they were like, oh, the Yankees front office isn't like the biggest fan of Story. Like don't expect him to
be
like
and listen, and maybe that's true. I don't know if this pick is more me just kind of saying I think it's happening, or if it's just me trying to will it to happen. I just personally don't see how you could go from trying to trade for him 5 months ago and now completely out on him before free agency even starts. I think that doesn't necessarily make sense to me.
Right. Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, it's logical. I mean, all the reasons for Trevor Story, I mean, other than the fact that he's going to be a righty, which you're right, everyone's going to bitch about for no reason. At the end of the day, you got an impact player. All the reasons for him to be a Yankee make logical sense. But, I guess for that, we'll have to see what happens. But where I think Trevor Story is going is based on where I think, or who I think the Yankees are getting in Corey Seager. So I think that Trevor Story becomes a Dodger.
Wow.
And that's not something I've really heard that often. This is one of the takes that I'm proud of, and I actually think is going to happen. They're going to have to make up for Seager's offensive production. They have plenty of lefties in their lineups, assuming they keep Bellinger, which I assume they will. I don't think that Torres for Bellinger swap is going to happen. I've seen all over Twitter. They got plenty of lefties, so I don't think they're too concerned about that. They might have to make up for Chris Taylor's offense as well. His offensive production, like we said, decent shortstop, good speed on the base pass. I think he makes sense for them, and they have been known to literally throw money around. And we saw how much over the luxury tax they went last year. Now that other teams and their potential competition in the Yankees are also willing to go over the luxury tax by a significant amount, I think the Dodgers match them no problem. And, I know we don't think that the Padres are going to contend, but I mean, there is reason to believe that they can kind of step it up and kind of figure it out, especially with the new manager. Maybe the Giants find magic again. So, I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't win the World Series last year. They did not achieve their goal. They didn't even make it to the World Series. So I think they amp up. I think Trevor Story goes to the Dodgers and they just pay him whatever. What do you want, Trevor Story? We want the best, the best hitting shortstop left available after Seager and Correa go.
Yeah. No,
So
I like it.
Trevor Story to the Dodgers. That's my take.
Yeah, he fits anywhere. He really does.
Yeah. Next one is we're gonna go Marcus Semien. So you gotta pronounce that one slowly. Make sure you don't get that one wrong.
Semien, Marcus Semien.
Seaman. Yeah, that was the mistake. Yeah,
So I have seen a ton of destinations for him. I think the Red Sox are a potential one. Honestly, if you look, he's got a lot of pull power. Especially he could play second base now, which the Red Sox are going to be in the market for either a second baseman or a shortstop and move over Bogarts. But ultimately, I have him going to the Mariners. I think the Seattle Mariners are a team that they might look at the division and say, you know what, the A's are about to rebuild. The Astros are going to let another franchise cornerstone go. We're up and coming. This is our time. Let's actually make a run at it. And I think that this is a guy where they don't have to give out a 10-year deal like they would to maybe Correa or even Seager. They can get him probably for 5 years, 6 years, get a veteran presence in the middle of their lineup and take a team that, came obviously just a game short of the playoffs last year. I think they really make a run at the West in 2022.
I would love to see that actually. I don't have him going there, but I would love to see the Mariners just be a successful franchise and take over the West. It was so fun at the end of the year last year when they were actually into it. They were at the end of the walk. Obviously, they were going against our Yankees, but It was so cool to see. I don't know. Maybe it's because no one actually thought they were going to make it. It was kind of in the back of your head, oh, this will be fun, but it's not actually going to happen.
Yeah, dude, Seattle's a good sports town. I mean, yeah. I know you're a Seahawks fan, so I think that getting the Mariners to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years, I think that's going to be awesome. So I think Semien's a guy that really fits well for them in their quest to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't have him going there, but I totally agree. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I actually have him coming back to Toronto. I think that the way that they're set up right now is very similar to how a NFL franchise would want to start, like a Super Bowl run, and to the point where they have their young stars or quote unquote their quarterback, young, controllable. They don't cost that much. So their Vlad, their Bichetti are not warranted huge contracts right now. So I think that they're okay with kind of spreading out their money elsewhere and maybe even going above market value for an impact player that's going to get them their championship while their core is still young and they don't have to throw out these 300, 400, maybe one day $400 million contracts. Probably that's what Vlad's going to get when he signs his extension. But I mean, we saw it with George Springer where they went above what even someone like the Mets were willing to pay. I think they're going to do that same thing with Semien. Where they're going to go a little bit more, maybe an extra years is where the more value is, or more money, less years, whatever they wind up working out. I think they're going to throw the money at him because they're ready to compete right now with this young core still being cheap and, cheap and controllable and affordable. So I think that they're ready to go for it. And I think I
definitely won't rule it out. He was huge for them this past year. And you're right. They're really not paying anyone right now. Besides George Springer, they did just extend
Jose. Yeah, I was going to say,
on an albeit very reasonable AAV deal, and then we'll have to see what they end up doing with Robbie Ray, which obviously we'll get to him in the pitching video. But yeah, no, for sure, I could see him coming back.
Yeah. So next one is we're gonna go with Javi Baez. I think no, hit down everyone else. So let's go with Javi Baez. Where do you think he goes?
I think the Mets are going to open up the checkbook this winter. I think that as much as I give them shit, I do think Uncle Stevie is not going to take well to being what he was, an embarrassment in year one. Like, it's not just that the Mets underperformed, just everything that went on with the team. They were an absolute embarrassment. I think Javi Baez was good there. He provides a lot of things that every team wants. I know people rip on him for strikeouts, and he's not the best hitter. He's probably the worst hitter out of this group of 5 shortstops. But he's elite defensively, plays multiple positions very well. The Mets will probably keep him at second base with Lindor at short. I think he's a good fit there, even with all the booing the fans shit that seemed to blow over pretty quick. I remember he had that the game-winning run on the Conforto hit like a week later, and everyone forgave him for it, because that's the bottom line. As long as you play well, no one's going to give a shit what else happens. So I have him going to the Mets. What about you?
I have him going to the Rangers just because because they're going to be like, God damn it, we missed out on all the other shortstop. Here's fine, Javier Baez is $300 million. I'm just gonna be like, what? You got what, Javi Baez? And they need to put someone in those seats, and they need to have some sort of attraction, and they are going to overpay Javi Baez, and he's going to bat 260 for the next 9 years.
Last call at the bar, and a rich guy's just walking around flexing that he's taking Uber Black home, and just whatever girl hops in. It's like, fuck it.
That's Javi Baez for the Rangers this year.
The woman sick, told all his boys she was a 9.
Yeah, Javi Baez is like a 4, guys.
They're like, dude, you did not have to do that.
Yeah, fake lips. She got fake lips. All right, so let's move over to the next position, where I think I'm sorry, I almost forgot my favorite shortstop, Andrelton Simmons. Where do you have Andrelton Simmons going?
Yeah, I specifically wrote do not care. I'm not picking what team he goes to. I get he's great defensively, awesome, cool. I'm so fucking sick of talking about this guy. I feel like the more we talk about him, the more the chances are he's going to be a Yankee, which I do not want any part of. So no, I'm not picking. I hope he's out of baseball.
I kind of wouldn't mind seeing me on the Yankees. We obviously talked about that in our Yankees video. But I picked Seager, so I'm gonna go with this is actually my pick last year when we had Simmons in our video. I'm going with him to the Marlins. I think he makes sense. Young pitching staff. Chisholm's actually really good. I think he's a little erratic defensively. I think that Simmons can kind of help him out, solidify that middle infield, maybe for the next couple of years going forward while they kind of figure out their prospect situation in the middle of the infield. So we won't spend too much time on him. I do think he goes to the Marlins, though, where it does kind of seem like they're willing to spend a little bit more. I think they still have PTSD from paying Giancarlo Stanton, but I think they'll pay him this offseason.
Great. Love it. Hope he goes there.
Get him out of my life. We don't even have to spend that much time on this one because we all know where he's actually going. But where do you think Freddie Freeman's going?
I mean, if you say anywhere but the Braves, you're just being delusional.
I wrote Braves, LOL.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Freddie Freeman's going back to the Braves. He's not even on the market. It's like when some girl breaks up with her boyfriend for like 3 minutes. Like, yeah, oh yeah, she was on the market. No, she's not.
Yeah, like they broke up. It's like, no, they fucking didn't. She's slept over. Yeah, she's
they're hanging out right now. They're watching Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell. Everyone, they're back together, guys.
They already made up. Like, shut the fuck up.
It's not official, but they're back together. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
So the other first baseman, Anthony Rizzo. I actually have a kind of a wild take on where he winds up. But I want to hear yours.
So I think there's not good chance. There's a chance he goes back to the Cubs as much as he loved it there. I think there's a good chance the Red Sox hop in and grab him. I have him going to the Yankees just because under this kind of plan where I think overall what they're going to look to do is avoid long-term contracts, but they're going to pay guys in the short term. So I think that they pay Rizzo over market value for a 2-year deal, maybe throw in some kind of mutual option for a 3rd year. I think Rizzo likes being here. I think the Yankees liked having Rizzo. So I'm not crazy about bringing him back. I'd much rather them go get Matt Olson, but as a consolation, I'll definitely take him back, and I think that that's what ends up happening.
So I'm all in. I'm not accepting the failure of not getting Matt Olson. I had my brain hasn't computed that yet. So I had to come up with this wild scenario where Anthony Rizzo ends up on the Padres, and that's my take. That's my take for where he goes this offseason. I was pretty much sold on him signing with the Red Sox for most of today while I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, oh, he makes sense. He hits all those foul ball home runs. He would be perfect for the pesky pole, although I'm sure Core's creative enough where they can figure out the DH situation with Martinez, Dahlbeck, like all those guys. If he winds up coming up with consistency, they'll figure it out between, everything that's going on. He'll play first base, DH, whatever. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, there's just something that doesn't feel like he's going to end up there. And I started thinking about Chicago, but I don't know why I have in my head that he is somebody that's going to retire early. I have no idea why. I think this is his last contract for some weird reason. He's going to retire at like 35, 36, call it a career. I don't think he wants to end his career in Chicago because he wants to get one more championship elsewhere. So where is the openness in the first baseman market? Who needs a first baseman? I know the Padres do not want their current first baseman, and they have been actively trying to get rid of Eric Hosmer, maybe even potentially throwing a good prospect just to get rid of his deal, like throwing him back to the Royals or whatever the hell it is. I know they want him out of there because they need production out of first base. And I think they get rid of Hosmer, they attach a prospect, and I think they sign Rizzo. So that's my take. I don't know if it's logical. I think that was a bit of a spew that I just had, but I'm going to go with, I feel oddly really confident that Anthony Rizzo is going to be a Padre, and he's going to get a title there within the next couple of years before he retires early.
I just thought of an add-on to your little conspiracy theory.
Yes.
I know exactly what's going to happen. The Padres trade Hosmer to the Rangers because the Rangers have nobody on their roster, no salary tied up. They'll eat the salary. They say Eric Hosmer's a name. Like, people will remember him. Like the 2015 World Series.
Remember, guys?
Ever heard of it?
Remember,
and their farm system's barren as hell, and the Padres have a good farm system. So I think they'll say, you know what? Fuck it. We got no money in the books. We'll eat a little bit of money. We'll get our starting first baseman who's still all right, and we'll get a good prospect out of it. So you know what? Honestly, when you first said Padres, I wasn't with you, but I'm all the way there. I could actually see that happening.
I mean, I think it's a lock. If there was a way, I could probably good gamble it on it. Actually, now that I think about it, I could absolutely. I don't even know if the Padres would be on the odds book though.
I don't know.
That's how out of left field this is. I don't really care. I think it's a lock.
If this happens, I think our show is just going to go to the next level. I'm pretty sure that's how you get picked up by like ESPN.
Yeah, you just say an outrageous take and then you put it on a graphic and you say
that's basically first take.
and you get like 2 or 3 celebrities to comment like the 100 emoji on Instagram. And then you're famous, then you're rich.
We just need Molly Kiram to come in and moderate and just cut us off anytime we start to like make any semblance of sense.
Yeah, right when I got to like why he's going to be on the Padres, she would have been like, "And we got to take a break."
He's like, guys.
guys.
All right, cool.
All right, yeah. So Anthony Rizzo is going to be a Padre. That's an absolute lock. I think the next group that we should tackle. Do you want to end strong with big names and get these littler ones out of the way, or do you want to go big right now?
No, I like that because if we go the big names now, we're just going to shut off the video before we get to like fucking Yan Gomes.
Yeah. So let's get Yan Gomes out of the fucking way. Where does Yan? And the only reason why he's on this list, he would not be on this list. Let's say this is last year. He's on this list because the catcher market is barren. It is awful. Yeah. He's like the only one that's like actually like worth spending any real money on that's left. Actually, that's Manny Pena maybe was, but now he's gone too. So Yan Gomes, where the fuck does he go?
Yeah, I think it's tough to predict for catcher because it's like realistically, it's like everyone kind of needs another catcher, but at the same time, it's like none of their like catchers just kind of just like kicking around just like a fucking can that like no one really wants, but you need to figure it out. So I'm gonna pretty much directly rip off your Anderson Simmons take and say that Yan Gomes goes to the Marlins. They don't have any everyday catcher there. They have a really good young pitching staff. I think they just locked up Sandy Alcantara to a 5-year extension, which is great for them. And I think if you want to invest in your pitching staff, obviously defense behind them and a catcher behind the plate. So Yan Gomes, bring in a veteran, work with these young guys. I think that he makes a lot of sense for them.
Nick, I have Yan Gomes going to the Marlins too.
Let's fucking
not even kidding. of all the random catchers that we could have put in a video and of all the random teams that we could have put them on, we got Yan Gomes to the Marlins on lock.
That's the first pick that we mutually agreed on also besides Freeman, which doesn't even count.
And Correa,
that's right.
But those two don't even count because of lock. And and Anthony Rizzo to the Padres is also a lock.
Yeah, switch my pick to the Padres.
Switch him. All right, let's get Cesar Hernandez out of the way too. You don't even have a take on him, right?
I'll just I had Phillies just because I feel like the Phillies are always just in need of infielders. Like I feel like every infielder they have, whether it's Michael Franco or just whoever it is, I feel like it's like, yeah, he's actually good, and it's like, no, he's actually fucking horrible. So they're always in the market for infielders. So I have him going to Philly.
Yeah, I couldn't give you a reason why. Actually, no, I have two reasons why I think this. The Cardinal, Cesar Hernandez, they had like a 2.4 or 2.6 WAR, so he's actually like worth signing. And I think the Cardinals need to contend. I think they need one more little piece on offense. Tyler Neal looks like he's going to be a star. Arenado, Goldschmidt. Obviously still perennial all-stars. They have Sosa and Edman in their system. But I mean, I feel like those are still prospects. I feel like when you're competing, you kind of want to make sure that you kind of have someone who's actually good, like Cesar Hernandez, who's not going to probably not going to stink the bed at least. And I've seen all over Cardinals Twitter that they want to trade Paul DeJong. So they need a replacement for him. I don't know. I saw that this guy's player is good. I feel like he's going to weirdly sign with the Cardinals because they are just a middle of the nowhere type team, and he's a middle of the nowhere type second baseman / infielder type. So right. I think it's a match made in heaven.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Noted. We got Cesar Hernandez and we got Yan Gomes out of the way.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the third baseman. This is our last category. Kyle Seager. Where do you have him going?
So Kyle Seager, last year I had Justin Turner going to the Blue Jays and kind of a prediction to get a veteran in the infield. They ended up going with Marcus Semien. So since I have Semien walking, they're going to need an infielder. So I have Kyle Seager going to Toronto. It's a very right-handed lineup. Not that it matters. It's funny. You don't see people complaining about a right-handed lineup when the Blue Jays and they're just fucking mashing. The only reason that the Yankees lineup this year was two right-handed was just because they fucking sucked. So the Blue Jays, at the end of the day, it doesn't hurt to add a lefty bat. So I think it's an easy move for them. If they let Semien walk, you slide Kevin Biggio over to second. Kyle Seager's your third baseman. Replace the veteran, replace an infielder, and get a lefty bat. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah, I like that. I kind of hope he doesn't do that because I actually think he's actually not that bad of a player. I'm kind of surprised, like we were kind of saying, the Mariners have a chance to compete this year, especially if they get someone like Semien and they kind of let him just walk. I get he was owed a lot, and it's kind of time for him to move on. It kind of looks like a new era for them. But at the end of the day, I am a little surprised because people obviously liked him there. I do think that someone who's in the market for a third baseman, they traded for Eduardo Escobar at the deadline last year. I'm going to go with the Brewers. I think he winds up in Milwaukee. I think they need a little bit of power now that Yelich is kind of like, what is he? Outside of Willie Adames and maybe obviously El Garcia is actually a free agent this year as well. So I mean they need some power. And I think Kyle Seager can at least help him out with a little bit. So I kind of think he winds up on the Brewers.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
I would like the Yankees to sign Kyle Seager too, honestly.
Once they get Corey Seager too, it'd be a lot of fun. We'd sell a lot of shirts too.
I could honestly see that. I feel like that could be something where Hal is like, we're gonna market the shit.
Yeah, brothers of the Bronx or something like that.
Yeah, something.
The Bronx Brothers. Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean.
We're gonna make that shirt. We're gonna make that.
We'll workshop it. There's definitely one that's gonna slap us right in the face, and it's gonna be like.
Yeah, Hal, you can't take Bronx Brothers. You can't take that. That's ours.
No.
For the time being, it's a pending copyright.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll find
Okay, this is our last one, our last infielder, or infielder, outfielder, whatever you want to call him. Kris Bryant. Where do you have Kris Bryant going?
So as I alluded to before, I think the Mets open up the checkbook. I think also the Mets are interesting when you look at their roster construction. They have a lot of guys that are like infield / outfield. It's like, where does Dom Smith play? Where does Jeff McNeil play? So I think that you look at Kris Bryant and you say, if we need him to be our everyday third baseman, he'll be our third baseman. But also, if you want to put him as a corner outfielder, he'll play left or right field. So I think that between the Mets really needing another bat, looking to spend, and his positional versatility, I think he makes sense with the Mets.
Yeah. I actually have him going to the Mets too. I kind of thought for a second maybe he winds up on the Phillies because they seem to just love paying for people. when it really doesn't make that much sense. But he actually is very good friends with Bryce Harper. I think they went to high school together, or I think it was
together growing up. I'm pretty
sure. It was something like that where they know each other from when they were kids. So that they always make that connection. It's like always a lock to go there. But I do think he makes sense for their lineup. They kind of just needed one extra push to kind of get through that division this year, and they didn't have it. So I thought maybe him and Cohen, or the Phillies and Cohen, would kind of maybe make a bidding war out of it, especially, division rivals. One's bidding, so we got to get him, make sure the other team doesn't get him. But I think if that does happen, the Mets ultimately win that, because I don't have them getting Baez, so they need a win. The Mets, especially after, like you said, this train wreck every year. So I have him going to the Mets, and we'll see what happens from there. What type of deal he gets and how he turns out on that roster. But I think he's pretty solid to go there. I don't think he returns to the Giants. I saw a lot of people saying that. It doesn't really make sense to me. I think they know that they overperformed last year. They'll sign back their pitching just to get innings. But I think they know that was kind of a 1-year thing. So I don't think that they kind of invest in the offense and give him the contract he deserves.
Yeah, and I thought so. Like during the season last year, he would re-sign, but I'm just not getting the feeling that it seems like the Giants have already been pretty aggressive in going after the guys that they wanted to keep around, and I haven't seen too much with them with Bryant. So I don't know. I just think him to the Mets makes too much sense not to happen.
I agree. So I think that's everyone that I have on my list. I think that's everyone you have on their list, because we had the same list. I think the next video is probably going to be the outfielders, and then we'll move on to the pitchers, just because they always take a little bit longer to sign. Yeah. So yeah, that's everyone. Anthony Rizzo to the Padres is an absolute lock. I think that's the only take that I feel entirely confident in this entire video.
If that happens, it doesn't matter if we get every other pick wrong. That would be nuts.
Yeah. if it happens, I'm buying an Anthony Rizzo Padres jersey. That's happening.
I'm buying the Padres if that happens.
they're for sale, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Black Friday sale.
Yeah, Black Friday sale on the Padres. Buy one, get one free.
All right, we will catch you guys next time. Make sure you check out the rest of our channel. Subscribe, comment, follow us on Twitter. You can do that. Yeah, you can do that.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow us. Take your dog for a walk.
Drink some water. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Have a nice Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Have a good Thanksgiving. Calories don't count this entire week. Fact.
Do not count them. Go over the luxury tax of calories.
Yeah, there's no calorie luxury tax. There's no penalty this entire week.
Yeah.
Fact.
Okay. All right. Go Lions.
Let's go Lions. Absolutely.
Go Lions. All right. See ya. Bye.